Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. I'm Justin Davis and we have a super awesome episode here today. I'm so excited when Frsky releases something new, and I've been waiting to get my hands on this transmitter for quite a while. You saw some pictures of it on my Instagram in the background, and a lot of you guys were asking when I was going to review it. So I took my time with it this week and I got to know it so that I could tell you the proper difference between the Taranis Q X7 and the X9D over here on this right hand side. That's the Taranis Plus. This is pretty much a legendary standard in the mini quad community for the past couple years. Everyone uses this one. I got it when it first came out, and I love that it has OpenTX companion software on the Mac or the PC, so I can go in there, I can save a copy and a backup of my radio files, all my models, to my computer, and if this fails somehow, if the memory fails, I can reflash it and put all my models right back on the radio. So it's a very nice setup here with the X9D. Now the Taranis Q has the same thing. This also has a micro SD card slot on the very bottom that you can move your models over from your older radio to your newer one if you choose to do that. It does come bare bones, and it doesn't have either mode set up yet. It comes pretty much universal with self-centering sticks here, so you have to open up the back and move some screws around behind the gimbals, but that's not a big deal, and I'll show you how to do that. It's very simple. Now there is some pretty major differences between the two. A friend of mine that flies long range, he wants more switches on his radio because he actually uses every single switch on the radio. It's unbelievable, but he does. So this one is lacking a few different things, a few different switches, but if you're looking for something that is going to do everything this one does, minus a few switches and a few features, this one is awesome for the price. So guys that are new to this, or if you want an awesome backup radio, everyone loves this one. It feels great in your hands. It has these super awesome ergonomic grips, and it just feels right in my hands. And that's, your thumbs kind of come up around here and your fingers sit right up here where the switches are. They redesigned the transmitter antenna here as well. You have the same sort of grab handle on the back and then your module bay, but they did something different here with the battery section. They changed the way the batteries go in. This is a 6AA battery bay. I put my rechargeables in there. You can also remove this tray, and there's actually a balance connector down here for a 2S LiPo. So you want to take this tray out. You can find a square battery like this. Maybe you can use a NiCad or a LiPo. They do have NiCads available that are this shape, so Frsky actually makes one. Now you're looking at the very top of both radios, and you see right away there is extra 2 switches on top of the Taranis Plus. The X9D has those extra 2 3-position switches here, and you've got your momentary switch over here, and usually your throttle arm switch is back here. That's the one most people usually do. On the X7, we have that throttle switch over there, and we have that momentary button there, and they did move the headphone jack up here, which is kind of cool. A little more accessible if you're going to wear headphones. Now looking at the very back of the X9D, the Taranis Plus, you see that the micro USB port is on the back right here in the center, and you have the headphone jack next to it. Inside the battery bay is where the smart media card is, where you can get to your micro SD card. Now this is kind of a fallback on the X9 because it's not on the exterior. Like some of the Spectrum radios, they have that out on the side. I believe my DX8 from Spectrum has their SD card out on the side, and it's easier to access. So on this new Taranis Q X7, they actually put all of these slots in one spot, which is really nice because it makes them easily accessible. You got your smart port over here on the very far left here, and we have the micro SD card in the middle, and then we have that mini USB here, and that's for connecting to OpenTX companion, which is how you're gonna add and change all your models. You can do it right here on the radio, but you can also do it on the computer, which I find really nice, to add a new model, set up the settings, and then you can save it and write it right to your Taranis Q, just like you can on the Taranis Plus. So both of those features are pretty much absolutely the same as far as the software options go. Now, a few design features and changes along the front of this transmitter versus the older Taranis Plus. Now, we have a lot of the same switches right across the top here on both radios. Have these little dial switches. They have a 3-position switch on the far outside left. They have 3-position switch here, SB switch, and they have a 3-position on SC, but they're not labeled on the X7 like they are on the Taranis Plus, so that might be confusing to some people. Over here, the SD switch is also very far right. Top is also a 3-position switch, so plenty of 3-position switches for your mini quad fly-in. That's kind of nice. All the trims are absolutely the same. The gimbals feel very similar between the two, and I have this one set up and has little notches on the throttle stick right here, and I will show you how to set this up and change these sticks. I'll open up the back and show you how to set up mode 2. Now, they also redesigned the power switch, which I find is kind of cool. They're updating and they're trying to move forward. This time you have sort of a push button on and you press it once and it lights up. That's kind of nice. Shows you the Frsky logo there. It's telling me throttle warning because I don't have my throttle at 0, so you just press the throttle down for a moment. And the failsafe is not set either yet because we haven't set this radio up. It's brand new. So now you get into the main model menu right there, and I find that turning this one on,
Welcome to OpenTX.
the Taranis Plus screen is a little bit brighter, and it has that sort of classic blue screen on it, a little bit brighter. Now, they also changed the way you access the menus. They added this sort of spectrum style wheel on here, and it also has a push button. If you push it down, it'll select, make a selection. Over here on this side, the Taranis X9D, originally we had the enter button down here and moving up and down there. And you can go into the menu and page and exit over there on the left hand side. Now they've moved this over to this circular wheel over here. So you have exit here. You can get into your radio settings here by pushing and holding this one, and you can also page over, and then you can use the spin wheel as well. Now, if you look closely, you'll see one more change that they have on the outside of the radio. The Taranis X7, the antenna has been redesigned. This one is actually a flatter profile on the outside of it. That's kind of cool, and it actually seems to be a little bit longer in length than the original X9D. Now, I don't know if that's actually a longer wire up inside here, but we could take that apart and find out. Now, another feature is that it's also connected by a clip right to the board. So if you want to take this off and upgrade this antenna, like some guys like to do, they like to add a larger one on there, you can do that. This one is actually soldered to the board, so you would have to use your soldering iron and unsolder it, desolder it, take it off the board. Now, while I have these antennas sitting to the side like this, I always fly with my antenna sitting to the side. I have done this for 10 years or more since I first started using digital radios. When Spectrum first came out, there was an article in RC Airplane magazine years ago from one of the original creators of Spectrum, and I met him at Joe Nall one year at one of the flight tents. It was really nice to talk to him. Very intelligent man, and we were talking about antenna signal, and I asked him, you know, a lot of pro heli pilots seem to be flying with their antennas to the side like that, and I thought it made more sense to point it forward at the aircraft, and he said no, actually the signal is emanating from the sides, so you're going to get the best signal, the strongest signal, with the antennas pointed to the side like that. A lot of Phantom pilots will sit there and argue with you that if it's pointed straight at the Phantom, then you get the best signal. I'm not sure about that. So in the Frsky manual, it actually shows you that you get the strongest signal from the sides. Right here, if you look at this little graph of the antenna, it says strong signal left and right and weak signal at the very top of the antenna. So if you have your antenna pointed at your aircraft, you're going to get a weaker signal and you won't be able to go as far away. Now, it actually does say it right here with this little paragraph right here. It says angle adjustment of the antenna. So it does say that the antenna features a weak radio signal in the forward direction and a strong radio signal in the sideways directions. I'm glad that they clarified that because I've been saying it for years, and now I can know that everyone at Joe Nall is not crazy. I know I'm not. So very important to have your antennas out to the side while you're flying. Now, this is running from 6 to 15 volts. You can put a 2 to 3S LiPo on here. If you want to add a 3S LiPo, you can. Just make sure it has that right balance port connector. 2S is probably what I'm going to run just to be safe. Now I showed you that manual a little bit earlier, showing you the antennas, and the manual is actually pretty decent. It tells you all the different information about all your sticks and controls. Also tells you your basic information about how many channels and some of the different functions on it versus the X9D. Now the X9D, the files are compatible backwards and forwards with the X7, so that's really nice. They're cross-compatible. Now the X7 also features a built-in 60 model memory, so you can add up to 60 models. I believe I have 34 or 35 models on my Frsky Taranis Plus, but you can expand that if you want to using that little micro SD card. You can add almost unlimited models on there, probably more models than you could ever add. And probably one of the biggest reasons that people buy Frsky radios is the fact that you can do that, because with Spectrum radios like my DX8, I'm limited to how many models I can have on that radio, and that drives me crazy because if I run out of, say if it's at a 30 limit, I'm already 4 over on this one, so I can keep going and adding more models and not have to go back and delete a model. And then years ago, I believe there was like 15 models max, and sometimes I would have to go back and rebind it to another airplane with a different name and keep rebinding my models back and forth. So this is a really nice feature that Frsky built into their radios. And also, sort of as a thanks to buying the X7, they give you this sticker pack, and that's pretty cool because I do like Frsky, and I'll definitely be putting some of these on my boxes, my battery boxes. So thanks for the stickers, Frsky. Now what a nice looking radio this is. Looking at it up close, the design feature is a lot like the Horus. It's very, very similar to the Horus, but it's way, way cheaper. And I think it's a little less bulky. Maybe it's close to the same size, but the Horus to me seems a little bit big. It's actually bigger and wider than the original X9D that I have sitting over there. So I like something that's nice and compact. Radios should definitely be getting smaller and not larger. These old school tray radios, definitely not my style. I like something that's a little more portable and something easier to travel with. So let's go ahead and long press here, and I'll show you how to turn it off. Okay, and it shuts down. You hear that little buzzer inside there. This one also has a buzzer. Now for the voice prompts, you're going to have to actually add, go to OpenTX.org and download sounds. So you can, let's go ahead and push that down, and then the failsafe. Okay, so now it shows you that first model, and like I said, I can add up to 60 models on here right out of the gates. If you long press here, it'll take you inside the radio settings, and you can go in here and change around your time and date, and I definitely need to do that. Battery range, it says 6 to 8 volts there. Sound, mode. Now if you go all the way down, if you just got your radio and it's brand new and you're watching this to learn about your radio for the first time, scroll all the way down here until you see where it says modes. We're going to change this mode. Now I have it set to mode 2 right here, and if you want to change it, you can change it to mode 3, 4, mode 1, or 2. Now a lot of people in European Union, they use mode 1. That puts the throttle over here on the right. I'm from North America, so I grew up using mode 2, so I will select that one, throttle on the left. Now if you want to get out of this menu, you simply press exit right here, and that takes you back to the main screen. Now if you want a page over, you can do that. You can change some of your pages here just like you could on the main screen. You can change your display here to show your gimbals moving around on the screen, and they actually have the labels here for your switches. So you see that traditional SA, SB, SC, D, F, and H over here, and then you see your trim centers right here. Just press that again so you can see that. So you see your trim centers right here on the outside and the bottom. Now to access your model menu, you just press this little button right in the middle, and it takes you to your model selection menu, and now you can go up and down here and select all your various models. It also goes all the way up to 60 right there as a default, and like I said, you can add more if you want to use that micro SD card and your OpenTX companion software. Now if you want to select right now, just backup, copy, move, show you that, and we can exit that, go back down to the next model. I don't have one right now, so it's just going to tell me to create model or restore model. I can grab a file off the micro SD card straight from the radio if there's one backed up on it. If I say restore, it says no models on the SD because I don't have anything on the SD right now. But I can pull the SD card out of my X9D and I can load my models on here one by one if I want, and restore this entire radio if I was going to switch over to using the X7. That's pretty cool. And I'll just exit again to get out and back to the main menu. Very simple interface. Now also guys, this radio is compatible with all the different Frsky receivers, but this one is the FCC version, so this one's compatible with the FCC version receiver. So if you get an EU version, it's going to be a little bit different than the FCC version, so make sure that you get the correct version receiver for your Taranis radio if it's definitely an FCC version. And on the back right here, you can see that it's an FCC version by looking at this sticker that tells you that it's definitely FCC version with the ID there. And also, here's the module bay. Let's go ahead and take that off so I can show you. You have a QR code here, so you can go straight to Frsky's website and learn more about this radio. And then you also have those traditional pins, those connection pins here for your module. Be very, very careful with these when you're plugging them in, because I have bent these before, and they are kind of a pain to get back to straight. So you definitely don't want to break one of these off, because you could ruin the functionality of your radio for module support. Okay, so now we're going to go ahead and open up the back of the radio, and I'll go ahead and remove these screws here and take out the AA battery so I can show you behind the gimbals and some of the boards in here and the layout, what they've done for this radio. Now I got all the screws removed. Let's go ahead and take the back off. Be very careful removing the back, because the battery bay is actually plugged into this little balance port right here. Okay, I can put this to the side, and now we can look at the gimbals. And I know I want my throttle on this side, so we're going to go ahead and loosen up some of these screws on the back side of the gimbal and allow this to drop down and be a traditional throttle. I might actually add a little bit of grit in this as well, because from flying airplanes I kind of like those little notches. You can make it smooth, or you can tighten it up and have it feel like it has some notches in there for throttle control. Let's go ahead and take the screwdriver and do that. So now you're looking at the back of the X7, and the throttle is going to be on the right if you're setting this up in mode 2. And hopefully this helps you guys, because some of the other videos I saw, they were angling the transmitter all around upside down. The Frsky video, the guy actually had it upside down like this, so it's kind of confusing to see which screw he was actually going for. No offense, Frsky, but we're going to use a larger screwdriver for this too, because you don't want to use a smaller one and end up stripping the steel screws. They're actually really easy to strip, and mine felt like they were just on the edge of stripping. So be very careful and use a nice standard size screwdriver on these. Now the ones you want to do first, the first screw you're going to change is going to be this screw right here. I'll hold this to the side so you can see that screw right there. And that one you need to screw all the way down until it's flush with the plastic back of the gimbal here, because what that's going to do is that's going to make sure that your throttle spring is released so that it can sit at the bottom just like this when we're flying mini quads. Now the next step is going to be adding a little bit of spring tension to the gimbal itself. If you want to have that ratcheting feel on your gimbal, you can do it one of two ways. You can leave this the way it is and it'll be a nice smooth free-flowing gimbal stick. If you want to have a little bit of ratchet feeling, you can do that by tightening this screw right here down as much as you can get it, and then you can adjust it back and forth to get that right feeling for the action. I don't like it too much. I just barely like to feel that I'm kind of making small adjustments with that ratcheting feel. And you can also do this one down here too. You can move that one down. You see there's actually a little dimple on the side right here, and there's a little gimbal that comes along and it has little teeth on it that kind of grab onto this, and that's what gives you that ratcheting feeling. So now that I've done that, my throttle is all ready to go, and it was pretty simple. All I had to do was this one, and this one, and screw that one. Make sure that that one's screwed all the way down nice and tight. So now once you're done doing that, you can go ahead and take the back of your transmitter tray and go ahead and plug this back in and put this back on top using these larger screws. Now this time I'm going to use my larger screwdriver to put those back in, because it was definitely a pain using this smaller one to get these out. These are pretty big screws, but I appreciate it that they used a larger screw to hold the transmitter together nice and tight. Now just set your back plate here and go ahead and plug back in to the port where it originally was, and this is your power connection. and it looks like it's a 2S style balance lead. Now also, while I have this open, you can see in here there is a battery in here. There's my smart port and my USB port for connecting to OpenTX, and my model memory micro SD card slot. You also have some open slots up in here. Maybe we can add extra switches. I've heard other people say that. I'm not totally sure yet. And then over on the right side here, you see that little motor right there. That's what adds vibration function to this radio. And then over here we have our module port sticking out right there. You can see that right there. It's all labeled CPPM, heart, VMain, ground, and S port. Now, I told you guys to remove this before taking it off earlier. It's going to make it a lot easier to get it back together because you have to feed these little tiny teeth through that tiny slot right there. And you'll hear it click. And now I can go ahead and add those screws back on the back of the transmitter. And I will be done with my throttle stick setup. So before I let you go, I'm not sure anyone else has showed you this. For the Frsky Taranis Q X7, you have OpenTX companion capability, and this is really a standard in the industry. If you're into flying mini quads, you know about OpenTX. It's great because you can load all your model memories here. You can add new models, you can delete new models, you can change the settings on models, you can add different switches and functionalities to each individual model, and you can copy and paste. It's super cool. You can also make a full backup of your entire radio. Over here I have my Justin's Taranis backup from March 2017, and that saves it as a bin file. And that's nice because I can go back and restore my radio settings later if something happens or my original memory gets damaged, or say my SD card gets damaged, or the model memory there. So I have a total backup, and that's really nice. I can make copies of it, or I can share it with a friend even if they wanted to just get a fresh start from my radio. Now let's go ahead and turn it on into bootloader mode, and the way you do that is you take your index finger and your thumb, hold the trims toward the center, and press that center button momentarily, and it'll come up to the bootloader screen. Now what you have to do is connect your USB cable to your laptop, and so I'll go ahead and do that here. And once it's connected here, it does say USB connected, and you don't see anything here on OpenTX Companion yet, because what you have to do is you actually have to read the models. So this little icon right here on the far left, you press that once, and it's going to go ahead and load up the models there. Now it doesn't have anything on here yet, so it's saying invalid file, but when we add models on there, you'll see all your model names load up right here. So if you double click on that, you can start with multi-rotor or plane, and we'll go ahead and enter a name. We'll just say X7, and we can go to next, and it's going to walk you through these setups, the setup wizard for adding your first model. So if you go ahead and you want throttle channel on traditionally on 3, yaw channel 1, pitch channel 2, and roll channel 4, that's traditional. Now we want to have throttle cut, we can do that. We can have throttle timer, so we can add different telemetry to it as well. Now we'll go ahead and say, okay, I understand. So we'll finish, and now we've added our first model. We can double click on that, and we can make even further changes. So we can go in here and play around with heli setup, flight modes, inputs, mixes, outputs, curves, logical switches. You can set up your switch functions in here, which switches you want to be your mode switches, and your arm switch. You also have special functions and telemetry. So tons and tons of different things that you can do inside OpenTX Companion. This is great software. Now, I just created that first model inside OpenTX Companion, but it didn't save it to the radio yet. So this is not actually on the radio yet, this X7. So if you click on this very top icon right here, it'll write the models and the settings to your TX. So it'll take just a moment, and then it's going to update on the X7. And once it does, you can close that screen. So now my first model for the X7 should be on there. Also, if you want to write a backup, go up to read and write, and backup radio to file. And once you do that, you can name it simply X7 to the desktop, save it, and now I'll see an X7.bin file over here on the right hand side of the screen. That's pretty cool. So my final thoughts on the Taranis Q X7 by Frsky. This is an absolutely awesome radio for a lot of reasons. Definitely for the price, at around $100, you can't beat that for around $100. Friends of mine have already seen it, and they're definitely getting one. Definitely as a backup radio, I will keep this one. This one's not for sale, and I'm not going to do a giveaway on this one because this is a great radio. So you'll have to check out the link below and grab your own. Really worth the money with all the features that it has. I mean, it does everything the Taranis Plus has, with the exception of some features. So do you want to spend the extra money? That's totally up to you. If you want to grab the full-blown version, I'll put that link down below too. This is kind of like the Cadillac of transmitters for mini quad flying. So you want the little mini Porsche, grab one of the Taranis Q X7s. Thanks again for watching, you guys. I'm Justin Davis. I will see you on the next one.